I wanted to ask? I'm currently living in France and trying to get a work visa. I haven't received an answer for a very long time. What does this mean?
It seems that your fate has already ended there. It looks like they have started processing your visa. That's how fate works. I see that this will be resolved soon, in my opinion. Everything will be fine. Are you currently on a tourist visa?
I've been studying in France all this time, and now I've applied for a work visa.
You will succeed. It is already happening. I see that something is already in motion there. Maybe in a few days you will receive it. Your question?
6 months ago, I met a young man in the Vaishnava tradition. He's from Ukraine. 2 months ago, he moved to Spain. It turns out that we have a situation that's not quite right. I have a stable income, and he has now moved in with me.
Don't spoil him with money, but he's a good person, kind-hearted.
We're both worried because we understand that this is incorrect. He won't be able to earn much for a while. We're now thinking about registering a civil partnership so that he can have a work permit.
But I'm a bit scared to officially get married since there's no real certainty. Take it one step at a time. This is an exception to the rule. Just don't get used to living like this. It can ruin your fate. He's a good person. Everything is so turned upside down now that women often find themselves in a better financial situation than men.
So we shouldn't worry too much?
His financial situation will gradually improve. He's not quick in terms of activity. He's more slow-paced. He needs time. He's not a lazy person. He's just not fast. In terms of success, he's not quick, but you're not destined for someone fast-paced. Just accept him as he is. But if you don't marry him, he won't feel good. He won't be stable. He'll be hanging.
So it's correct to register a civil partnership now and then marry later?
Later, you'll register a proper marriage. You need to get to know each other. You're also not quick in terms of personal life. You need to figure everything out about a person and understand him well. Take your time to figure it out. No one is rushing you. Remember one thing, if you have a civil partnership, you shouldn't build a close relationship with him. Build that closeness only when you have married. Otherwise, you'll ruin the relationship, it won't be normal, and you won't trust each other. Guarantees are necessary. Without guarantees, there is no relationship. You'll give him guarantees, he won't give you guarantees. What kind of life is that? You've already been through this before. The more you fear someone, the worse it gets. Don't be afraid, it's dangerous. You need to accept the person and be patient. No one is rushing you. If it's a civil partnership, don't build a close relationship. It creates an attachment, and that's when problems can start for either of you. Someone will snap. Imagine this. You were given a box of dates, but you can't open it. It just sits there, and you can't eat it. Isn't that unpleasant? That's what a civil partnership is like. There are no guarantees. A civil partnership doesn't offer emotional security in a person's heart. Next question.
Special thanks to you. Thank you for everything. I lived in Spain for a long time, and during that time I got married there and had a child. Later we decided to move to another country, but we divorced just before and I went there alone with the child. There I met a man very quickly and our relationship lasted 11 years. We never created a family. We made a lot of mistakes.
This is the result of your divorce. You left your husband and you received an answer from God.
We also had a child there. I set conditions, but the person doesn't want to take responsibility.
Are you together now? No? Why?
For 11 years, we didn't have our own place. We didn't have our own apartment. He always planned to live like this. I rented an apartment for us. Then I realized that the person doesn't strive to change anything. He didn't work at all for the first 6 years.
Did you live on your money?
Yes. Even now, he changes jobs often. When I set conditions, the conditions were not met. So I walked away.
You need to understand something, and this applies to everyone. Most people have such a fate that if a person moves to the West, their family life becomes harder, but their work life improves. This applies to everyone. That's how fate works. If you move from Russia or Ukraine to Europe, work gets better, but personal life gets worse. This means that you won't find stable family relationships here. So this option is normal for you in terms of your current fate. If you want a family, you need to go back there again. There will be an opportunity to get married. While here, there's an opportunity to work. You don't have the option to have everything at once.
I thought I was very well settled, but after meeting him, everything started to change in my life. Many things went wrong.
It's not because of him. This relates to a certain phase in your life. You had a difficult period. Now you have a normal period. Is everything getting back to normal now?
Yes.
You're in a good period now. Everything depends on fate after all.
Now I've started engaging in activities and going to the forest. There, I met someone. We ended up walking on the same trail. He also walks every day. At first, we just passed by each other. Then we started greeting each other. Then we introduced ourselves, and we continue walking now.
Is he married or not?
No, he's not married. He's single. He's in the forest every day. It's part of his daily routine. He doesn't listen to your lectures. He seems to have understood somehow on his own.
Some people have an intuitive understanding of how things should be. Does he work?
Yes, he's already mature, 10 years older than me.
You also have this option. If a person is much older, then you have such an option in your fate. There could be a marriage, either with someone much older or someone who doesn't work. It's a choice you'll have to make.
In principle, everything is moving slowly and cautiously in our relationship. I just want to understand.
Is he taking it slow with you, or are you taking it slow with him?
Both.
That's normal. You need to understand one thing. He received serious mental trauma from his past relationship with a woman. He's afraid of women now. He's a sensitive person. It will be very difficult for him to enter into a relationship with a woman again. You need to be careful with him.
Is a relationship with the previous man possible?
He doesn't leave you alone?
He constantly pursues me.
You've spoiled him. You need to educate him, set conditions, and be strict. You've allowed him too much in life. What can you do now? He's used to living with you like this, right? The topic is closed. You found someone else. You can't build relationships with two people at the same time. Focus on your fate. If a person is the cause of your problem, you won't solve the problem. The problem is with fate. You pray, overcome fate, accept fate, and forgive the person. Then your life will improve. If you don't love the person, if you think negatively about him, the rift between you will grow. Your child feels it and suffers. So solve this problem. You're asking me this because you feel offended. It's a problem for you. You need to solve it. You need to forgive. You accepted him into your life yourself. No one pulled you by the ears.
My boyfriend lives in America, and he wants me to move in with him. We've known each other for a year, we've seen each other rarely, but we text and communicate every day.
I don't see a problem. Moving will be more difficult for you in terms of work, but your personal life will be better.
He's worried about finances. That's why he's postponing it.
When you move in with him, the finances won't get better, they'll only get worse. It's always like this for people. They can only gain in one area at a time, either their personal life or finances. It's very hard to have everything together. It rarely happens. You can move and get married, but your work situation will be difficult. According to your fate, it will be difficult for you to find a job there. It will be easier for you to get married there, but harder to work. Here it's easier to work, but harder to get married.
I will have a problem with work, and when I move to him, he will also have financial problems. That's why everything is dragging on a bit.
No, when you move to him, his work situation will improve. It will be difficult for you to find a job, and if you do find one, it will be hard for you to work.
Is he a good person?
I've created a project called Living Together with Dr. Torsunov. This means that you don't need to think at all about whether to meet someone or not, how to act, how to live. You just keep asking me what to do all the time. I will be available 24 hours a day. I've decided not to eat or sleep, but to answer your questions nonstop. If you have any questions, just call me, and I'll provide all the advice and guidance. My dear, I'm asking you, is he a good person or not?
He's good. Well, I don't know him well.
That's the issue. Get to know him. In America, people are different. They have a different lifestyle. They're more specific, more precise, more pragmatic. He might make a decision that you won't like, and you'll have to live with it. The lifestyle there is tougher. In Europe, the lifestyle is tougher than in Russia. It's a more serious way of living. In America, the energy is a bit different. People there are somewhat detached. They smile at each other, but it's hard for them to be together. That's the energy there. Has anyone here lived in America? It's difficult for people there to come together and create a family.
I have a different experience.
Possibly. And you?
The first 2 years were good, but then it became difficult.
The planet Ketu influences there. It separates people. People crave freedom. It's hard for them to be with someone. People there are more freedom-loving. But your personal life will be good there. However, in terms of work, unfortunately, I can't say the same.
The main thing is that love is mutual.
You're choosing love. In relationships, in love, everything will be good for you. Next question.
I have a very good husband. He's just perfect for me.
Don't demean yourself before him. Be dignified.
Since March, he's been divorcing me.
So I gave you advice too late. You demeaned yourself before him. You tried too hard to please him. No person will ever stay with someone who is too strongly attached. If you consider him super good and jump through hoops for him, a person first begins to be proud, then behaves cynically. Is he divorcing you?
I can't understand.
I can tell you this for sure. If you regain your self-esteem through prayer and become self-sufficient internally, he won't divorce you. You've demeaned yourself in the relationship. You've lost yourself. A woman is beautiful when she's self-sufficient. A demeaned woman is not needed by anyone. She should be beautiful and strong. Be beautiful and strong. You get a little lost in this relationship. Stop depending on the man. Become strong inside, and he will feel happiness from you. He has a strong personality, right?
He influences me very strongly. He dumps his negativity on me.
He dumps it because you allow it. I'm telling you, don't think that he is a bad person. You need to understand what's wrong with you. If you allow a person to do something, he becomes like that. A woman is a blessing force. What you allowed, that's what you got. Change yourself. This man needs an educational process. But first, you need to accept him as a person. You need to understand how to behave with him. You bend over backward for him. You lose yourself. You need to become equal with him, on the same level as him. You're like a junior. A man doesn't need a daughter, he needs a wife. You behave like a daughter, like a younger one, which is a weak position in the relationship. There, you're already looking at me better, stronger and stronger. Become strong. The Lord supports people. If a person believes in God, they gain strength. God gives a person freedom from other people's incorrect perceptions of them. You need to become self-sufficient, a person of worth. If someone is pressuring you or thinking poorly of you, distance yourself from them. Don't allow anyone to treat you rudely. When someone is rude, there are two options. Either you build close relationships and humiliate yourself because he stepped on you, on your dignity, and is pushing you down. Or you distance yourself and behave with dignity. He wants you to be humiliated, to be demeaned, but you don't want that. However, you don't hold anything against him at the same time. You simply need to keep some distance and show that you're a self-sufficient person. Eventually, he will accept you as you are. He will stop pushing you down. This is like a test, a trial. A woman who allows herself to be humiliated loses her beauty instantly. Once you're humiliated, beauty vanishes. That's it. No one will see your beauty if you're humiliated. It's impossible. A woman's beauty shines through when she's self-sufficient and strong inside. If she humiliates herself, that's it. The beauty is gone. Without beauty, there is no reason to live. A man needs beauty. Love comes through the energy of beauty. If you are humiliated, there's no beauty left. That's it. No one buys dogs with their tails tucked between their legs at the market. People love the fluffy, joyful ones. I use these comparisons to make it easier for you to understand.
We're planning to move. We are asking for advice.
Have you tried living there during the summer? You see, the climate is very humid there, especially from April to September. April, May, June, July, August, September. That's 6 months a year. Are you not going to live there for half a year? Suitable is different for everyone. Do you want to live in a Vaishnava community? These are different options. There's also a Vaishnava community here. You can buy a house nearby and visit. Have you studied what the culture is like there? What about your child? Is there a school?
There's a person there, quite normal.
The person is normal, but in 6 months a bad period will start for him, which will significantly drain his money. The person is normal, but his bad fate will eat up your money. It's not that he won't want to pay the interest, he won't be able to. You need to understand that liberation is not such a simple thing. You want to obtain liberation in this world, be careful. The Lord is now leading you by the nose. You want to live at someone else's expense without working. This is incorrect thinking. You will have a failure with this person, 100%. I see the emptiness of your life. I don't see your trip there going terribly wrong. God has given you the opportunity to talk to me. If you do as I told you, you won't face failure. You need to find a different way to solve the financial issue. You can work with him in a year. If things are fine in a year, then I was mistaken. Because from what I see, in 6 months, he will start having problems, real problems.
Can we work with him in 8 months?
You can, but be aware that he might hide it from you, that he's already starting to have problems. You just don't know about it. He's already having problems now. This problem is with the authorities, some kind of problem with the authorities that will impose some restrictions on him. I don't know exactly what will happen, but he will really suffer. His ability to do business will be severely impacted negatively.
Should we buy real estate in Sochi?
Yes, that's a good idea. Buying real estate and renting it out is a super idea for you. Very good. I know a good realtor in Sochi. She will help you buy real estate in Sochi. We'll talk about relationships during the lecture.
I really want a 3-day retreat, not just 1 hour.
You want 3 days? There will be a prayer retreat on Saturday and Sunday. We'll have 2 days, 3 hours each, remotely. There are plenty of prayer retreats at the festival. 2 retreats.
A question about personal relationships. I've been with a guy for 8 years. We have been dating, and we are living together. But a week ago, I found out he's having a parallel relationship.
Well, it's understandable. Dating for 8 years, what kind of life is that?
I tried to get more, but he doesn't agree.
Then you need to break up.
I can't.
Well, what else can you do? This is not a life. Next question.
Hello? I'm married, and we live as 3 with my husband's child from his first marriage. I want a child together, but my husband doesn't.
According to the Vedas, you need to love your husband deeply and take care of him so that he softens and starts to want it. This is possible for you. You can persuade him. If you strive for this, he might agree.
How long should one date? A year or more? Where should the line be?
This is Europe. Everything happens very slowly here. It's slow because of the influence of Ketu. I don't know where the line is here. Maybe set a 3-year term. It needs to be long. People are afraid of each other. They're very cautious. Are you afraid? Well, why are you asking me then? This is Europe. You need to approach each other slowly to form a relationship. The energy here is such that all people are cautious. They can't make decisions quickly. Everything happens slowly. In Russia, people get married in 5 minutes and then divorce 5 minutes later. People there do everything faster and make decisions faster, but here, people are cautious. What's the person's name? Email? He has such a fate. It's very difficult for him to get married. He's an intellectual, always thinking, analyzing, weighing, and measuring everything. Strangle him.
I can strangle very hard.
You need to strangle very hard. He won't run away. You need to tie him down. He'll marry when he gives up. He won't make the decision on his own. You'll lead him to the registry office and he'll sign for your sake. He's a kind, compliant person, but very cautious. He's naturally compliant, not categorical. You need to keep pushing him, leading him.
Should I continue to attract him then?
It's all the same here. This is Europe. All people are cautious. They build relationships slowly. If they build relationships quickly here, it's even worse. These people are actually reliable. Next question.
I have a similar situation. My husband and I have been dating for 20 years.
With your husband or with a boyfriend?
We were married and lived together for 3 years. Then we decided to live separately. We lived separately for 7 years. Then he divorced, and we continued dating. Now I'm asking him to marry me and live together.
You're asking, and what does he say?
He says yes, but I'm not ready yet.
He'll be ready in about 20, 30 years. He's not ready yet. Pray to God, this is how fate works. This is how fate works here. It's easy for people with work, but hard in personal life. That's the nature of life here in Europe. In Russia, it's the opposite. Work is difficult. There it's easier to get together, but harder to live. Here it's harder to get together, but easier to live.
Maybe I should live in Ukraine? Is it better for me to return home?
I wouldn't advise you to return there now, because first, the political situation there needs to be resolved. Everything is very unstable there. It's unclear what will happen next. There needs to be some stability. Wait for at least one stable ruler to emerge who governs steadily. Then you can think about whether to return or not.
Should I continue dating him?
You need to pray. There's a concept of overcoming fate. This person embodies your fate.
We also had a problem with pregnancy.
This is about a healthy lifestyle. You lack energy for conception. If you lived in Ukraine, you could marry someone else. When you live here, you need to force him. Understand this when a person moves, for example, to Europe. And in America, it's even more pronounced with rare exceptions. When a person moves to Europe, their economic situation improves, but their personal life gets worse. That's how fate works. The further east a person goes, particularly toward the east and south in general on this earth, the better their personal life can be, but work becomes more difficult. Conversely, when moving west, the opposite is true. Personal life gets worse, while work gets better. This is a general principle. That's how the energy of fate works. If you go to Italy, then further to India, personal life gets better there, but work gets worse there, closer to the south and east. Of course, Italy is technically in the west, not the east. Similar principles work there. But its southern position influences people to be softer and more emotionally open. It's easier to get along with them. However, living there is tougher because it's still Europe. If you go further north, it's generally harder to get along and harder to live together. In places like England or Finland, it's hard to get along and hard to live. In Italy, it's easy to get along but hard to live. In India, which is even further south and east, it's easy to get along and easy to live but difficult to work. There's no easy life in this world. You all have chosen work and material prosperity. If Russian people move west, it means they choose material prosperity. This means that family life will be more difficult. If you want to know how it works, I can explain. If a person chooses the east, their spirituality increases, finances decrease, and personal life improves. If they choose the west, financial life improves, while personal and spiritual life deteriorates. Spirituality might not necessarily deteriorate. West means material prosperity. East means spiritual prosperity. Choosing the south typically increases emotional intensity and happiness, but health deteriorates and life expectancy decreases. It may decrease. Emotional intensity in relationships increases, but stability decreases. Choosing the north increases stability, but decreases emotionality and happiness. You must understand that there's no place where everything is good simultaneously in this world. There's no such place. Choosing material prosperity means more work, better work, but harder family life.
What if it's different for me?
It doesn't matter. That's how your fate works. This doesn't apply to everyone. Raise your hand if everything's good in your personal life.
For me, it's good with work too.
It means everything is fine in your life here. I'm talking about the difficulties that can arise. But if they're not present, that's good. Live peacefully. I'm talking about tendencies and what generally happens. Now, everything goes well in your personal life. You don't need to move further west. You shouldn't move further west because it might disrupt your current balance in your personal life. If you found equilibrium in a certain place, that's good. Stay there. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you for the explanation.
I believe you need to continue working and deepen your prayer. Only God can help you. You have an obstacle purely due to your fate, but breaking through is challenging when someone is fearful and cautious. Strong prayer to God is necessary to overcome your fate, and it will break him, or he will completely distance himself from you and fall off, in which case the Lord will give you another. My dear friends, you all share one problem. Or rather, all people on earth have it. People often think that someone is to blame for their struggles. They blame their life struggles on someone else. But you must understand that someone else is not to blame. That's how fate works. And when a person repeats a prayer, why did I invite you all here? So that you look at those who pray. They may not seem developed on the outside, but their hearts are developed. They pray and maintain stable personal lives. Everything is great in their life because they are overcoming their fate through prayer. Luck increases in life. There are two categories of people. Some try to break through life with their labor and their strength. It all comes very hard. Sometimes fate is insurmountable, as in your case. You can't create a family on your own. You need to pray to dissolve that barrier. The person is not to blame. It's just how your fate works. You need to melt this wall. If you go to Ukraine, you'll quickly find someone there and get married. But there won't be such material stability. There will be more poverty.
I have a family and everything is fine. But my relationship with my husband's parents is cold.
That's normal. You're a woman. This is also a result of Western influence. There's a flaw somewhere in your personal life, either with close ones or with parents. There's coldness between you. If you reflect on this, you will understand why. They are just very narrow-minded, very inert, and set in their ways. It's hard for them to change. If you visit them, everything will be fine. They will meet you and welcome you wonderfully. But getting them out of their routines is difficult because they've frozen in this life. People in Europe freeze. Life is like this: homework, 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 and they freeze. They become inert and stagnant in their lives. It's hard for them to maintain friendships, hard to communicate, hard to get themselves out somewhere. They freeze in such a life. Then they don't see each other, don't hear each other. That's where the imbalance is. That's fate. There's coldness between you. That's how I see it. That's how fate works. You see, there is fate.
I know, yes.
Pray for them. You can love them from a distance. There's no closeness between you. There's some distance. That's how your fate works. Interestingly, it is better with the father. The distance is less. But with the mother, the distance is greater.
It affects my health very strongly.
There's a reason why it affects your health. You want to enjoy relationships with the parents. You desire more than what is allotted. That's why you suffer. Wish them happiness from a distance. Give them little gifts. If you want to overcome your fate, remember the name of God. Tomorrow we will pray and work to overcome fate. If you pray intensively for 2 hours a day, like tomorrow, then after 4 months there will be a rapprochement. Do you want to overcome it? Then overcome. This can only be resolved through prayer. It can't be resolved in any other way. You can't force them to be friends with you. If your fate is overcome, things will be softer, but still you won't be very close to each other. It will be a bit easier. The distance will lessen, but you won't be able to get very close. This is how your fate works. You have issues with your mother. She is a very categorical person, and you are a very categorical person. She has rules and principles she wants everyone to follow, but you live as you see fit. That's why it's difficult for her to be around you, and she doesn't visit you. If you become softer with her, which is very difficult for you to do, she will also soften, but she will never give in to you because she is your mother. You should be the one to give in, but you won't. You have your own opinion. A more philosophically minded person could ignore these differences, but she is not philosophically minded. She holds grudges against you for a long time. If you pray, you can overcome this only through prayer.
Thank you for allowing us to ask questions.
Thank you to all the organizers here are trying very hard too. In Europe, the invisible evil planet Ketu is active. Ketu has a strong influence in Europe. In Russia, the evil planet Rahu is active. It makes people drink, swear, and behave rudely toward each other. There are rough relationships there because of this planet. Ketu doesn't make people behave rudely. Here people are gentle with each other, but they maintain their distance. Ketu dries up heart connections. It prevents people from becoming strongly attached to each other. Relationships here are more businesslike and more pragmatic. According to your fate, you have a great opportunity to realize yourself in your work. It's easy for you to do all this, but in your personal life, it's very difficult. If you find someone, he will be weak, and the relationship will develop very slowly. You need to use the power of God. Only prayer can help you. Or living in a southern country, even within Europe. For example, Italy or Spain. France is a relaxed country. People there are not very serious in their personal lives. The last question from you, young lady.
Is it okay to help parents financially if they don't really need it? Since I'm in Europe, I feel the urge to help. I've heard an opinion in psychologists' lectures that if I help, then I become the parent, and the parents become the children.
Do they need your help?
Not much.
Help them a little. There's nothing wrong with that. At the age when parents need care, you should help them, pray for them, help them financially. I also moved my mother closer to me and helped her with housing. She lives near me now. This doesn't mean she's taken the position of a child in relation to me. Psychologists are such storytellers, really. They make up concepts like child position. As parents age, they should receive help from their children. That's how the world is designed. So the energy should flow in both directions. You received support as a child. Now you should give back as an adult.